Hey guys, Gabi here. I'm going to be explaining how to expand brackets in this lesson. The learning objectives are the importance of the order of operations, expanding brackets, multiplying two binomials, multiplying three factors, multiplying a binomial and a trinomial. So if we have a sum that looks like this, there are many different ways in which you could tackle this sum. The one might be working from left to right. That, I think, is everyone's first instinct. So 12 minus 2 equals 10 times 5 equals 50 plus 1 equals 51. We could also work from right to left. So let's do that. We have 1 plus 5 equals 6 times 2 equals 12 minus 12 equals 0. And then the last one I'm going to do is what happens if we start with the multiplication sum first. In the middle, let's start in the middle. So 2 times 5 is 10. Okay. Then let's write it out in its form, 12 minus 10 plus 1. Now what happens if we work from left to right? We have 12 minus 10, which gives you 2, plus 1 gives you 3. So out of these three methods of solving this sum, this one is correct. And the reason for this is because of the order of operations, the way that you tackle a sum, which one you do first. So you might know this as something called BODMAS. You might remember that from the prep school, from your previous school, where the B stands for brackets, O stands for order, which is exponents or square root, D is divide, M is multiply, A is add, and S is subtract. And this is the order that you should tackle expressions in. You first, if they are brackets, you try to do whatever you can inside those brackets. Then if you're dealing with a square root or an exponent, you work that out. Then you divide or multiply, and then you add or subtract. So it's important for you to remember this phrase, BODMAS, also known as PEDMAS. Some of you might have learned it as PEDMAS, and that is parentheses, exponents, division, multiplication, addition, subtraction. Okay, so that is why you can see you can get three completely different answers just depending on the way in which you approach the expression. And in this case, you need to follow this process of BODMAS. Great. So say you have 3 bracket x plus 2. Okay. Here, if you follow the BODMAS principles, you would try to do whatever you can in the brackets. But if you remember back to the earlier videos that you have done, these are unlike terms. This 2 does not have an x, and therefore you cannot add these together. So you can't do what is inside the bracket. So then we move on to exponents, we don't have that. And then we move on to division, no division, but we do have multiplication. This 3 is being multiplied by this bracket over here. Okay, so a way that I like to think of this, and it might help you remember, is you can think of this 3 as a wave crashing into a boat with 2 people sitting in it. Okay, when this wave hits these people, this person is going to get wet, but so is this person. So it's important to remember that this 3 needs to be multiplied to the x and to the 2. So if we work that out, we will have 3 times x plus 3 times 2. 3 times x is just 3x, and 3 times 2 is 6. And there we have it. You have successfully expanded the brackets. The brackets are no longer there. So that is a very simple expanding of brackets. So let's move on to, we've done expanding brackets, let's move on to multiplying two binomials. So a binomial is a bracket that contains 2 terms. So let's use this as an example. X plus 3 times x plus 2. So this is your first binomial, your second binomial. And you guys may have heard of the acronym FOIL when we focus on this. Okay, FOIL. And all this stands for is first, outer, inner, and last. Okay, and this just helps you remember what to multiply and when to multiply it. Okay, so if we follow these steps of FOIL, we start with the first terms of both binomials. So here's this one's the first term and this one's the first term. So that is going to be multiplied together first. Then we do outer, this one and this one. So then we're going to multiply those two together. Then we have inner, these two. And then we have last, the last two in the binomial. So if we write that out, we have x times x, that is our first, plus, because the 2 is a positive, the x is a positive, so x times 2, plus, again, because the 3 is a positive, the x is a positive, 3 times x, and then finally the last 3 plus, again, because they are both positives, plus 3 times 2. Okay, so let's work that out. X times x. There are two x's here. You do not write it as 2x, you write it as x squared. Okay, this little exponent up here tells you that there are two x's that are being multiplied together. Plus x times 2, that is 2x. Plus 3 times x, 3x, and plus 3 times 2, 6. Now, you may think this is your final answer, but we have some like terms here. They both have an x, a singular x over here. These have two x's, so that is not a like term. So if we add those two together, 2 plus 3, you just add the coefficient in front of the variable. You get 5x plus 6. And there we have our final answer. So you use this method of FOIL, first, outer, inner, and last. And if you follow that principle, you will always get to your answer. All right, moving on to multiplying 3 factors. So let's use those same two binomials, but let's add an x on the outside of them. So we have two binomials, but then we also have an x. Now, it's important to remember that this x is not just being multiplied into this first binomial. It is being multiplied into both of them. So a good thing to do first is to multiply the two binomials first. So multiply two binomials first. Okay, so let's do that. Well, we did just work it out, but let's do it again quickly. So here you use the principle of FOIL. So we have first x squared, x times x is x squared. We have outer x times 2, which is 2x, inner 3 times x, 3x, and last 3 times 2 is 6. Now we have to simplify it down by adding these like terms. So that is 5x plus 6. Okay. Now, remember, you still have this x that needs to be multiplied in. So let's rewrite that with the x on the outside. Now, if you remember back to when we did expanding brackets, think of this x as a wave crashing into these brackets. All these terms are going to be affected by that wave. So the x is multiplied to the x squared. So that's x times x times x. That's going to be x cubed. Then we have x times 5x. That is going to be 5x squared. Then we have x times 6. That is going to be 6x. And there, if you can see, we have no like terms. So that is our final answer. So there you have multiplied out 3 factors. And then, so that's done. Lastly, so you know what a binomial is? A binomial, you've got your 2 terms inside the bracket. Now, what about a trinomial? Tri means 3, so just think of it as you have 3 terms inside of a bracket. Okay, so I have x squared plus 2x plus 6. Okay, so what I like to do with these is I take the binomial and I multiply that into the 3 terms in the trinomial. So I'll take the first term in the binomial, multiply it into the 3 terms in the trinomial, then I take the second term in the binomial, multiply it into 3 terms in the trinomial. Because again, you can think of this as a wave crashing in. Both of these terms need to be multiplied by those 3 terms. So let's take the x first. X times 2x, we have x cubed. X times 2x, we have 2x squared. x times 6, we have 6x. Okay, so that's done. Now we're going to do 3 times x squared, that's going to be 3x squared. 3 times 2x is, sorry, not 2, 6x. And 3 times 6 is going to be 18. Okay, before we jump the gun and think that's our final answer, we need to check if we have any like terms. And we do. Okay, first of all, x cubed? No. So that can just be written down. What about x squared? We have 2x squared here, we have a 3x squared there. So it is going to be 2x squared plus 3x squared is 5x squared. Okay, then we also have 6x and 6x. So 6 plus 6 is 12x. And the 18 over there does not have a variable and it is on its own. So there we have multiplied out a binomial by a trinomial and we've got our final answer. And that brings us to the end of our lesson.